being chased by a bear while he was skiing. This would be absolutely terrifying.
On June 5th and 6th of 2012, Venus passed across the sun, causing a small black dot to appear on the sun's surface. It was pretty spectacular and lasted for only 6 hours. Unfortunately, it will not occur till 2117, so we won't get to see it again, but our great-great-grandchildren will, so that's cool for them. Anyways, it feels like there's something new happening in the sky all the time these days, so if you missed this, it's all good. I bet you next we'll all witness a spaceship coming to Earth, and that will be way cooler than Venus looking like a dot on the sun. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe to us for more content like this. In our number 9 spot, we have regrowing a set of teeth. When we are born, we grow baby teeth, and then when we get to a certain age, they fall out and we grow adult teeth. But the process then ends there. If we knock out our adult teeth, then that's it. We can never regrow a set of teeth. It's so interesting to think about the fact that this only happens as a kid and then never ever again. It almost makes the baby teeth falling out process super special, and perhaps this is the root as to why the tooth fairy legend was invented, as a sort of celebratory occasion that will never happen again. Probably not, but whatever. For your tooth, I shall give you $1 as a congrats. This is something that will never ever happen again in an entire lifetime. I will definitely make this a celebratory event when I have kids. In our number 8 spot, we have a dirty thunderstorm. Alright, so what is a dirty thunderstorm? Well, it's a very rare and fantastical thing to occur, and it is created only by a powerful volcanic eruption. Lightning bolts shoot out of an erupting volcano, which is what gave it its name of being dirty. It is apparently one of the most terrifying yet breathtaking things to ever see, and really it's a once-in-a-lifetime sort of thing if you see it. Over the last 2 centuries, over 200 cases of volcanic lightning have been documented, so it's safe to say that probably 200 people have witnessed this. So if you're a part of that very small percentage, then you are very, very lucky. In our number 7 spot, we have your first words. The very first word you ever say on this planet is an extraordinary thing. You will never speak your first word ever again. Your first word could define your whole personality. Okay, fine, that's a stretch. You're a baby. But still, I'm convinced that the humans that say poop as their first word are probably going to grow up and be the class clown, let's be real. This gave me the idea to look up some of the funniest first words ever spoken, and so I've compiled a list for you. Here is my list within this list. This is quite the inception moment. Number 1, poop. Of course. 2, balloon. Huh. Number 3, shoes. A future shopaholic right there. Number 4, cheese. And 5, gargoyle. All I can imagine is that the parent must have some kind of Hunchback of Notre Dame stuffy that's a gargoyle, because how the heck is that a first word? Just kinda creepy and hilarious all at the same time. Anyways, the first word is a fascinating phenomenon that will never happen again. In our number 6 spot, we have fire rainbows. A fire rainbow is neither a fire in the sky nor a rainbow, but a result of light being refracted as it passes from the moon or the sun over the ice crystals within the atmosphere. This especially happens with cirrostratus or cirrus clouds in the sky. How frequent is it? Well, this is dependent on a few factors, including the region and latitudinal location. In the USA, you can see a fire rainbow usually in the summer, but you rarely can see this phenomena in Europe. The areas that won't see it are usually ones that are 55 degrees north and south of the equator, and that is usually due to conditions required for the formation of their circumhorizon arc. The discovery of the fire rainbow has led to scientific study that has boosted the study in light and the creation of artificial fire rainbows. This would truly be a once-in-a-lifetime thing to see unless you live close to the equator, but still, it would be truly beautiful to witness. In our number 5 spot, we have the water elephant. This is something so cool that I found that I'm excited to share. This is one of those things that just randomly happens, and it's once in a lifetime, and you can't explain it, but it's mind-blowing and so cool to see. This is a picture of an elephant in a lake with 4 humans that are seemingly helping it take a bath. They are throwing water on him, and someone is taking a picture when the most extraordinary thing happens. The water that was thrown on the elephant was in the shape of an elephant. What? That's a magic. You cannot convince me otherwise. In the moment, I bet those people didn't notice, but I wonder how their faces looked when they saw this picture. Life can be so randomly beautiful, and this is definitely one of those moments. In our number 4 spot, we have fire tornadoes. Fire tornadoes are very, very rare and are really quite a new phenomenon, only being documented quite recently. As you can imagine, a fire tornado essentially occurs when great turbulent wind meets a fire, and this creates a rotating eddy of air, which then expands into a tornado. The fire tornado is also known as the fire whirl, fire twister, and firenado. Like I said, they're quite rare, but some people did observe one in 2003 in Canberra, Australia. In our number 3 spot, we have this bizarre once-in-a-lifetime outfit. Okay, this is certainly bizarre, and it happened naturally, and it certainly is one of those things that you see once in a lifetime, and it made me laugh. So let's take a look. A girl posted this pic online and entitled it, "Has anyone seen my grandma?" I truly laughed out loud when it hit me that this girl's grandma is dressed exactly like the carpet. How? Well, I mean, the print is very grandma and carpet-like all in one, but still, so funny and bizarre, and I couldn't help but chuckle, so I had to share. In our number 2 spot, we have the blue lobster. Okay, so before I begin this one, I have to say, I had no idea that a blue lobster even existed. So, lo and behold, it does, folks. And this person online shared a picture of one that her friend's dad caught. Apparently, the chances of catching this lobster are 1 in a million, so yeah, this is one of those situations that doesn't even happen for most people in their lifetime. Apparently, the odds of the lobster being blue in the first place is 1 in 2 million, so yeah, this is a very rare thing to happen. I googled why it is blue, and it is this way due to a genetic abnormality that leads to an overproduction of a certain protein. Anyways, this is pretty cool, and I would think it to be very lucky if you ever saw one in person. In our number 1 spot, we have your first love. Your first love, your first kiss. Ah, they're so special. Ah, I'm feeling so romantic, guys. Can't help myself. This is one of those things that will never happen again, which is why most of us never forget our first love or first kiss. The first has an impact on us and can often define our perspective on relationships in the future, unless we go through intensive therapy. My first kiss is something I will never ever forget, and I certainly won't forget the first time I fell in love. Love is such a bizarre, natural human experience, and one I wish for all of you to experience in your life. Ah, shucks. Okay, we're getting all sappy now. Love you guys.
Starting us off at number 10, the Giant Orb Weaver. Starting off strong, don't you love to hear giant and spider in the same sentence? Ah, nothing makes me happier. While most spiders like to dine on flies, these arachnids are known to accept a bit of a heftier meal: bats. Now, interestingly, it's actually only the females that are huge, sometimes growing up to 8 inches long, but either way, they will spin these huge, durable webs like 3 to 5 feet in size to catch juvenile bats. They are known to inhabit nearly every part of the world except Antarctica, but they do tend to be closer to warmer environments in general. The good news is that they are relatively harmless to humans, but that still doesn't mean I'm rushing to track one down any day soon. Next up at number 9, diving bell spider. Despite having all the usual makeup for a terrestrial spider, this little guy prefers to be underwater. In fact, they spend just about their entire existence underwater and only come up to the surface once a day for air. It's all made possible due to a self-made air bubble inside a silk sheet that wraps around itself, and then it pretty much just lives out its existence in the water until it needs to fetch more air. But despite its tiny stature and cute air bubble lifestyle, it has quite the bite and can cause fever, inflammation, and nausea if its fangs pierce your skin. So just be careful if you come across one of these tiny guys in the wild. Next up at number 8, the Longhorned Orb Weaver. Maybe one of the most striking spiders to have been discovered, the Longhorned Orb Weaver has a beautiful, albeit incredibly disproportionate horns to the rest of their body. Strangely, no one really knows the purpose of their distinct horns, but they are only found on females, so it could have something to do with attracting males in courtship. They are found in the rainforest, most often the tropical variety, and although they do have a nasty bite, their venom has not been known to harm humans. Phew. Coming in at number 7, the happy face spider. Native to Hawaii, this bright yellow spider gets its name from the pattern on its abdomen that most often resembles a big smiley face. They are pretty tiny little creatures measuring only about 5 millimeters in size, and unlike many of its species, do not use their web to attract prey. Instead, they detect their prey through vibrations transmitted through their residence leaf. Males will usually die after mating, but females will continue on to raise the spiderlings, protecting them until they are old enough to fend for themselves. And I've got good news for my spider lovers. These guys are not venomous and aren't really known to bite humans either, and aren't really known to bite humans in the slightest, so have at 'em. Next up at number 6, Pikachu spider. If we can't have Pokemon in real life, maybe this spider is the next best thing. Measuring about 1 centimeter long, the females of these incredible spiders have an abdomen that seriously resembles a Pikachu face, with black tips and red spots all over. But sadly, the males don't possess the same striking spine. They are orb weavers, meaning they spin large, elaborate webs, but unlike many others in their kind, are known to bite their prey prior to wrapping it. If you see one of them in the wild, don't freak out, they come in peace. While they can bite you if they feel afraid, it's not going to cause you any more harm than a mosquito bite. Coming in at number 5, Goliath bird eater. A part of the tarantula family, this spider can reach a terrifying 12 inches including leg span. Native to the rainforests of South America, these huge hairy creatures are known to consume worms, frogs, lizards, snakes, and even a bird from time to time, though funnily, despite its name, it's not actually their main diet. No matter their prey, they never consume it in public. They will drag it back to their burrow and liquefy the insides, allowing them to pretty much suck it up dry. The Goliath spider also has fangs large enough to break human skin, but thankfully their venom is not poisonous to us, it's more just along the lines of a wasp sting. But even so, between giant fangs and recreationally eating birds and lizards, I'll take a pass on meeting one of these guys. Next up at number 4, Peacock spiders. Most prominent in Australia, these brightly colored creatures have a few tricks up their sleeves. They may not be the biggest ones on the list, but what they lack in stature, they make up for in spirit. The males are known to perform elaborate and entertaining mating dances for the females, sometimes for up to an hour. However, it is a dance to the death, as if the females are not pleased, they will devour him instead of mating with him. I mean, talk about some high stakes. And while they don't spin webs to catch their prey, they are able to leap 20 times their body size, which is incredible. So as long as no one invents any kind of magic growth serum to turn these guys into giants, I'm honestly a pretty big fan. Coming in at number 3, the Goody Sapphire ornamental tarantula. With a name like that, you just know this spider is unlike any other. For starters, it is bright blue, like literally sapphire blue as its name suggests, but its spiderlings usually start out a softer lavender. They can measure up to 8 inches in leg span, but despite their striking appearance and size, they are actually known to be quite nervous and defensive. However, don't take that as an excuse to get too comfortable with these creatures. They might not be aggressive in nature, but if they are scared, they will attack, and they have an incredibly venomous bite with long-lasting symptoms. So if you're looking for a new pet, make sure you know what you're doing before you bring home one of these guys. They are not for the faint of heart. Next up at number 2, the Chinese Hourglass spider. The calling card to these creepy crawlies is their unique abdomen, which ends in a flat disc with a unique pattern that almost looks like it's been stamped in. They are extremely rare, with only 6 having been seen in the wild between 2000 and 2016. Perhaps they are rarely seen as they live in the ground, building traps lined with silk and mud to catch their prey, or maybe there really are just very few of them walking among us. Due to their rarity, they are highly desired in the spider pet world and can sell for nearly $4,000. Luckily, they are not venomous, but even so, they have a super painful bite, so I suggest keeping your hands and toes tucked away from these bizarre little creatures. And last up in our number 1 spot, Hercules baboon spider. Maybe the most rare spider we know of, no one has actually seen one in the wild for over 100 years. They grow slowly, but as the name suggests, they reach giant proportions by adulthood. They also possess powerful legs resembling a baboon's fingers, hence the other part of their name. Because they have not been seen in so long, some have started to worry or wonder if the species could be extinct, though no one knows for sure. But even so, they are fast and aggressive spiders, so if you do ever come across one in nature, keep your distance, cause they do not want to be your friend.
Number 10. Phone booth stuffing. This list is absolutely wild. I had to start with perhaps my favorite historical event of all times. Phone booth stuffing, it's exactly what it sounds like. This kicked off around the late 1950s. People decided, out of nowhere it seems, to see how many people could fit in a phone booth. Just get them in, those tiny little, that's it. The methods here, I mean, honestly, they got pretty creative. Stacking horizontally was the key, apparently. As long as your head was in the booth, you were golden. The world record was set in 1959 when 25 people in South Africa squeezed into one booth. If you're watching this laughing right now, maybe you're thinking, why would anybody ever do this? Yeah, remember planking? That was like 5 years ago. Have you ever taken part in a mannequin challenge as well? Take those chuckles back, because we do some pretty stupid stuff now, right? 25 people in a phone booth, that is raw talent. They didn't have TikTok back then either. They did this because they felt like it. You know what I mean? Now we just do it for clout. No one ever planks just because they want to plank. It's always for the vine. Do it for the vine. Number 9, a really long party. Back in 1520, King Henry VIII of England and Francis I of France had a little meeting. And when I say little, I mean, well, you'll see. We've all been to a business lunch or two. Maybe you have one drink, the ideas start to flow, so you're like, you know what, we'll get another drink, whatever. Now you're riding a wave, good ideas are coming out, you're feeling good as a unit, and the next thing you know, you're buzzing, you're not feeling too great, you're a little bit dizzy. Well, this was like one of those meetings, but they kept drinking for 2.5 weeks. Both sides attended this meeting with one goal, to look cool and party hard. And they did it. Oh, they did it all right. They planned on this party being a historical one. A temporary palace was constructed before the meeting. It was like a party house meant for just this party, alongside 2 fountains. One was flowing with wine and the other was flowing with beer. So just, grab your hands, pick a fountain, pick your poison. Also, take your jacket off because you're staying a while. Hope you have some bread. Number 8, deadly nightshade. Macbeth's soldiers used deadly nightshade to poison their enemies, and during the Victorian age, women would apply nightshade to their eyes. Yeah, let's hope we don't see this in the cosmetic game ever again. The pupils would become larger after nightshade was applied. That was the whole idea, I guess, because bigger pupils meant that you were attractive. Sure, like, good evening, madam, may I have this dance? Like, okay, sure. Back in the Victorian era, the pale look, the red lips, beauty marks, you were trying to resemble a literal queen. So women in the 1800s would either make their own compound themselves or find deadly nightshade berries and then just improvise. Yeah, it didn't end too well. For the red lips, pre-Kylie days, the main ingredient in Victorian times for red lipstick was crushed up insects, which already could cause allergic reactions when applied directly to your lips, but the ammonia mixed in really put the nail in the coffin in that case. Deadly nightshade, ammonia, and crushed insects. What am I, Oogie Boogie? This is awful. Let's move on. Number 7, bad hair day. I had to include the tale of the woman who ate her own hair. Why did she do it? What's going on here? How much hair did she eat? I have so many questions. The Liverpool Daily Post back in 1869 got the attention of passerbyers with this one. A 30-year-old passed away in the village of Lincolnshire, and that's not too far off from average life expectancy back in the 1800s, you know, with the poison cosmetics and all. But this case, this was odd, obviously. Doctors asked the family if they could carry out a post-mortem, and lo and behold, a 2-pound solid chunk of hair was just sitting in her stomach. It caused ulcerations of the stomach and ultimately caused her death. The woman's sister did note that over the last dozen years or so, she had been casually eating her hair, just like one strip at a time, every now and then, wouldn't hurt. Well, it added up. So if you know anybody eating hair, you know, tell them to stop, please. Hit that thumbs up for not eating hair. Number 6, Boombastic. The origin of stuffing your bra. Let's do it. What is Boombastic? Who's Mr. Boombastic? Why is he so fantastic? What does that even mean, to call somebody Boombastic? Well, back in the 16th century, if you looked like a literal couch, well, that was your royalty, I guess. The bigger the belly, the bigger the arms, the bigger the everything, the better. Size really did matter. Men and women would stuff cotton, wool, even sometimes sawdust in all their crevices. They would stuff sawdust in their clothing to appear more muscular. How hilarious is that? It's like, hey man, we can tell. you're leaking wood. The appeal was to make it seem like you ate a lot, that you were full and whatever, right? It was so funny because while this makes sense on one hand, historically, the legs of these guys were always so tiny because they needed to walk around still. They're like, well, I'm not gonna stuff my legs because I can't move. A guy the size of a minivan isn't intimidating or royal. It's actually hilarious. These poor guys, it would have been so itchy. And yeah, in case you're wondering, men would usually only stuff just one part of their trousers. Know what I mean? That's also just false advertising, my friend. Pull that out. What do you got? What are you really hiding underneath all that hay? Number 5, paper dresses. This short-lived fad was introduced in the 1960s, so yeah, we're gonna go a little bit recent for this one. Paper dresses, yeah, as ridiculous as it sounds, it's kind of cool. I'd rock one. Paper dresses to go-go. Just don't spill anything at all or make any sudden movements and you'll be okay. You're basically cosplaying Paper Mario at this point. Who wouldn't want to be in on this? The Scott Paper Company made these not expecting the reaction that it got. It caught on pretty quickly. Fidget spinners were only 4 years ago, so again, if you want to talk smack about paper dresses, you better check yourself, my friend. It only took 6 months for this casual paper company to start selling more than 500,000 paper dresses. It went so well that other companies hopped on board and they too began making paper dresses. Over $3 million were spent on this fad. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of paper. Andy Warhol was even in on the mix. It was a pretty big deal. They weren't made of flimsy printer paper also, in case you're wondering. You're like, how is this? I'm trying to imagine this. It wasn't as bad as I'm making it sound, but it certainly wasn't great. The dress was made of disposable material called DuraWeave. Believe it or not, it was slightly water and fire resistant, which you wouldn't guess at first. Unlike those puffy middle-aged dresses, this was actually kind of better. It was stepping in the right direction. It's been compared to that thick paper bib that you get at the dentist. Yeah, that horrible material that you're like, oh, why is it so weirdly heavy? That's what they would wear on their entire body. We can leave that in the past, or maybe, I don't know, we'll bring it back. Let's wear paper pants. I could do paper pants. Tear those off in a minute. Number 4, a weird gift. June 1941, the Germans were attacking the Soviet Union, and it was one of the biggest attacks in history, and Britain and US had to send in weapons, supplies, anything they can get their hands on just to keep them afloat, just to keep them in the fight. They sent these supplies through the Arctic Circle. That was the only route, so obviously it was a horrible commute, seeing as it was littered with U-boats. But thankfully the British HMS Trident was there to watch the waters, and in turn the Soviets were able to fight on. So as a gift, as a thank you for what just happened, the Soviets sent the captain of the Trident, the World War II submarine, a gift. They sent them a live reindeer as a gift. They're like, here's our gift to you. It's like, okay, thank you, I guess, thank you. We love them. And the British had to accept because it was ill-mannered if they didn't. You can't just turn away a reindeer and be like, no thank you, boop. Go back home. So they had to keep a 6-foot-tall live reindeer on a submarine, and her name was Pollyanna. They brought her on board through a torpedo tube, squeezed a little way through. She was a crew member for 6 weeks also. It wasn't like a haha, thank you, and then a day later they're like, okay, get her out of here. No, 6 weeks with a live animal under the sea. But she slept better than most, I'm not gonna lie. She shared a room in the captain's quarters, so not bad. Imagine the smell. Sweet dreams. Number 3, motorized roller skates. This one they worked on for a long time. Honestly, I can see it coming back in sometime soon, maybe. We had Heelys, that's all I'm saying, never say never. Motorized roller skates. This photo here was taken at the Sunoco station in Hartford, Connecticut. Context aside, this is an odd one. A guy with a briefcase is filling up at the gas station and he's wearing roller skates. That man is Mike Dreschler. The year was 1956, not last week, and the Motorized Roller Skate Company of Detroit really thought they were onto something. It only cost around $250, which today is around $2,400, and its max speed was 17 miles an hour, so not ideal. Now obviously this isn't a great idea. The image alone of the man pouring gasoline into like a guy's backpack, that just says red flags alone, that image. The biggest problem here though, aside from the everything about it, was that they couldn't figure out brakes. Yeah, they got this far and they're like, all right, ready? Let's do it. How do I stop though? Like I said, I'll take Heelys over these any day. Number 2, Naval Battles. Okay, so recently I was talking about these Aquaman gladiators with the nets and the tridents and how they'd throw the net on you and poke you in the Coliseum. That's absolutely insane. That's one of my favorite parts of history, all that Coliseum stuff. But have you also heard about the staged naval battles that would happen? What a spectacle this would have been. The Coliseum was flooded, which I'm sure took a hot minute, and then these ships would come out and it would be like medieval times almost, but with a splash zone. These ships were designed to resemble vessels from famous battles previously, but the bottom of the ship of course was flat, seeing as the water in the Coliseum was only 5 feet deep. So obviously they couldn't use real ships. And it wasn't always violent reenactments either, in case you're wondering. You're like, oh, Roman Colosseum days, was it like scary? No, sometimes they would fill the Colosseum and nude synchronized swimmers would come out and just be like, what a change of pace that would be than like a guy getting thrown into like a lion's mouth, you know what I mean? Nothing like an in-ground pool filled with gladiator bones. Nice. Goggles weren't invented until the 14th century either, so they just went in, they're like, that's so gross, 5 feet of yuck water. These naval stories were doing so well that Emperor Domitian devoted an entire lake to them. Yeah, it was just like Goblet of Fire. People would walk to a lake to watch this insane live performance. How beautiful is that? And then once the shows moved over there permanently, they used the Colosseum's old flooded gates to, you know, hide animals in it and rip people apart and all that horrible stuff. We love upgrades, sometimes. And finally, coming in at number 1, Comet Neowise. I looked in the sky everywhere for this thing, but I could not see it, and I was so upset. I left my house at 4 a.m. and looked up like I was in medieval times and I was trying to make a wish. I'm like, do you see it, Father? Where is it? Is it over yonder? I'm like, what am I doing? It's 4 a.m. I have to work in the morning. Why am I out here? If you were able to see the Comet Neowise with your own eyes, well, consider yourself pretty lucky. It's never gonna come back. If you missed it, totally gone, forever. When the Hubble telescope took a glance at the passing comet, August 2020, even though it's 27 million miles away, NASA still learned a few things. The cloud of dust and gas that follows behind Neowise has never been seen this close before, so it was actually a great chance to study some, science stuff, as well as make a few wishes as well, of course. Comets are already fragments from our past, so these icy leftovers from when the solar system was first formed, obviously this is key to finding out new information. It's on its way back to the outer solar system, but next time, we'll see it with our own eyes. Just kidding, it's not back for 7,000 years. You missed it for good. So did I. I'm still so upset about it, honestly. Did you see it? Comment down below. Comment what you made a wish about too. I'm pissed.
We're going to start off number 10 with a bit of a wacky one, raining animals. This is a real weather event in which animals like fish and frogs will fall from the sky. It's thought that this is caused by tornadic water spouts which whip up these small creatures and then dump them somewhere else. It's been reported many times throughout history, but in the past 10 years there's only ever been 11 cases of it. Scientists don't really know what causes this, and they certainly don't know how to predict it, which means you'll be very lucky to see it rain fish and frogs in your lifetime. Coming in at number 9, we have seeing a Puya Raymondi bloom. This is a cactus-like plant from South America that blooms every 80 to 150 years. That means that for most of us, we'll be lucky to see it bloom even just once in our lives. The plant is known as the Queen of the Andes, and when one of them bloomed at the University of Berkeley Botanical Gardens in 2014, it drew thousands of visitors who wanted to see the once-in-a-lifetime moment. Coming in at number 8 now, we have a long total eclipse. A total eclipse is where the sun is covered completely by the moon for quite a while. It's an impressive sight, and it does happen fairly often on Earth, but not often in the same spot. If you want to see it more than once, you'd have to move around quite a bit. A lot of cities on Earth don't see a total eclipse for hundreds of years at a time. For example, if you guys live in LA, the last total eclipse there was in 1724, and the next one will be in 3290. So you may have just missed both of them by a few years. Alright, at number 7 now, we've got the first time you do anything. Do you guys remember the first time you tried ice cream, first time you rode a bike, the first time you made friends with someone? All of these are big firsts in your life, and whether you realize it or not at the time, they will never happen again. Every kiss, every new experience, every new person you meet, the first of all of these only ever happens once. To be honest, I probably could have cheated and made these things into separate numbers on this list, but that wouldn't be fair, so here they are, all lumped together. Every time you do something for the first time, it's the only time you'll do something for the first time. Alright, at number 6 now, we have Halley's Comet. This comet orbits the sun once every 76 years, so for most people, they'll only get the chance to see it once. The last time it was seen was in 1985, and the next time will be in 2061. This means that if a child was maybe 5 years old when they saw it in 1985, they will be 81 years old the next time it comes back around. It's possible, it really is, but you'll need a very young child with a good memory and a good lifespan, born at exactly the right moment. I think most of us will be happy just to see it once. Coming in at number 5, we have donating a kidney. A lot of people donate kidneys, whether it be to a loved one who needs it or to a complete stranger. The good news is that unlike a lot of organs, you can survive with just one kidney. This is something you can't really say about most of your other organs, which is what makes kidneys so special. You can donate one of these and live to tell the tale, but not your other one. Until technology gets better, you're going to need that second kidney, making donating one a once in a lifetime event. At number 4 now, we have seeing true Pi Day. The first 3 digits of pi are 314, making March the 14th the official Pi Day for many fans of mathematics. However, the next 2 digits are 15, and some people say that the true Pi Day happened on March 14th, 2015. The next time a year will end like this with 15 will be in 2115, and then again every 100 years. This means that most of us will be lucky to see one true Pi Day in our lives. I didn't even know the last one was a thing, and now that makes me sad. Coming in at number 3 now, we have Neptune and Pluto completing an orbit of the Sun. Uranus takes 84 years to orbit the Sun. That's a long time, but it is possible to be alive for both. Neptune, however, only goes once around the Sun every 165 years. So far, nobody has ever lived to see that happen. Pluto is even more crazy. It takes 248 years for it to complete an orbit. That means that since the year 0, Pluto has only gone around the Sun 8 times. That's it. The last time it was where it is now was in 1769, before America was even a country. That's pretty crazy. Okay, at number 2 now, we have seeing Venus transit the Sun. This is another spacey one. In 2012, Venus appeared as a small black dot in front of the Sun. It took 6 hours for it to cross it, and millions of people watched from around the world. It was very impressive to see, but most people watched it because it doesn't happen very often. If you missed the 2012 one passing, then don't worry, because the next one is in 2117. Technically, some of you guys watching this may live that long, possibly. In reality though, if you did miss the 2012 one, that was probably your best shot. I don't know what I was doing that day, but I definitely missed it. Idiot. And finally, at number 1 now, we have being born and dying. Everything that happens in your life could theoretically happen twice, kind of. Not really. Even seeing some of these rare astronomical events we've talked about could happen to you twice if you lived in the future and had crazy technology. But one thing that is always true for all humans is birth and death. It only happens once to all of us. Even if you believe in reincarnation, this is still the only time you'll be born and die as this person. So,
starting off in our number 10 spot, we have the Jansen. In 2006, the Australian Coast Watch found a ship floating out at sea that was completely empty with a broken tow rope. Finding a ship floating with no one aboard is always a strange kind of mystery, but things only got more mysterious from there on out. Investigators had absolutely nothing to go off of that could give them any kind of clues. The name of the ship was printed on the side, but that's it. There was nothing else to identify the ship, there were no documents or belongings, no reports of missing boats, no records of distress signals, like literally nothing. They can't even figure out who it belonged to or where it came from. Their best guess is that the ship was possibly used to supply food and fuel to fishing boats, but that does not explain why no one tried to save it or even look for it. Was there someone on it when it got lost? Who knows? In our number 9 spot today, we have Harold Holt. Harold was the 17th Prime Minister of Australia until his presumed death in 1967. In December of that year, Harold was with 4 other people when he convinced everyone to stop at Cheviot Beach for a swim. The weather conditions were pretty rough, so only one other person actually went into the water with him. Holt said he knew the beach like the back of his hand, but sadly he was taken by the sea when going for a swim. Despite the subsequent investigation that ensued, which involved the biggest search operation in Australian history, no body has ever been found. The disappearance has been the source of mystery since the day it happened, with many conspiracy theories being created around it. Some believed he faked his own death, while others believe he was killed by the CIA, and of course there are people who believe that it was simply just a case of getting caught in a riptide. Whatever truly happened here may be a mystery, but it is also an extreme tragedy. In our number 8 spot today, we have Jelly Rain. Back in 1994, residents of Oakville, which is a small city in Washington, reported a series of mysterious translucent gelatinous blobs covering the ground. From the first report, over the next 3 weeks, more discoveries of this strange substance began to roll in, with many people claiming that they had fallen ill as a result of coming into contact with it. Many people believed that this substance had actually come down from the skies like rain, as each of the blobs was about the size of a grain of rice, and they were strewn about out the ground just as rain would be. There are of course tons of theories as to what this substance could be, and that includes the fallout from some sort of military weapons test, but to this day nothing has ever been confirmed, and it remains just as much of a mystery as it was 27 years ago. In our number 7 spot today we have Derek Amato. One day in 2006, Derek Amato was having a fun day at the pool with friends before a life-changing moment occurred. Derek yelled for his buddy to pass him the football as he dove into the pool, but just one moment later, Derek had found his head hitting the concrete floor of the pool so hard that he gave himself an extremely severe concussion. The injury caused him to lose 35% of his hearing in one ear and left him with headaches and memory loss, but also a newfound ability. Just 4 days after the accident, Derek found himself somewhere he had never seen himself, in front of a piano. Despite never having played before, Derek found his hands gliding across the keyboard like he was a seasoned professional. He said, quote, "As I shut my eyes, I found these black and white structures moving from left to right, which in fact would represent in my mind a fluid and continuous stream of musical notation." While Derek has had to suffer through a multitude of side effects from his injury, he continues to say that he believes he was given a gift. This is truly an interesting story, but no one can quite figure out exactly how this happened. Derek isn't the only person with a story like this, and all are as equally amazing as they are perplexing. In our number 6 spot today we have the WOW signal. In August of 1977, there was a radio telescope at Ohio State University that detected a strange signal. The radio picked up a pulse of radiation that was super unusual and that was coming from somewhere by the constellation of Sagittarius. The signal lasted for 37 seconds, and it has been commonly referred to as the WOW signal because of the fact that the astronomers observing it were so shocked at the time that they wrote "wow" on the printout from the telescope. This signal was so shocking because it was in a band of radio frequencies that are internationally banned on Earth. There are a multitude of natural sources for radiation in space that would cover a multitude of frequencies, so there are scientists who are skeptical that this could be proof of alien life, but skepticism doesn't mean it should be ruled out. Maybe this signal came from a huge astronomical event, or perhaps intelligent alien life with a very powerful transmitter who are trying to contact us. At the end of the day, this signal was detected in 1977, and we still don't know exactly where it's coming from or why it exists, so who's to say for sure? In our number 5 spot today we have the Moth Man. Back on a dark November night in 1966, 4 young people, 2 couples, claimed that they saw a tall bird-like monster that had glowing red eyes. They claimed they saw while they were cruising down a back road near Point Pleasant, which sits in rural West Virginia. They explained that whatever this creature was, it rose into the air, unfolded these huge bat-like wings, and chased them as they sped away as fast as they could, totally frightened by what they had just seen. From here, stories of the Mothman continued to spread, with more sightings coming in the following weeks. This story, of course, is what inspired the 2002 movie The Mothman Prophecies, which was based off of John Keel's book that told the stories of these uncanny sightings and experiences in relation to this mysterious creature or being. This is because he believes that this creature was somehow mysteriously linked to the collapse of the Silver Bridge in Point Pleasant in December of 1967. This bridge collapse took the lives of 46 people, and that included some of those who had said that they had an experience with the Mothman. Some people believe the story, others think it's just folklore and gullible people, so here I am asking, what do you think? In our number 4 spot today we have the Mary Celeste. Okay, I'll admit, this one's out of our lifetime, but I mean, the Mary Celeste, it's a classic mystery. The Mary Celeste first set sail on November 7th, 1872 with a cargo full of alcohol. What happened over the next month isn't quite clear, but what we do know is that on the afternoon of December 5th of the same year, another ship on the Atlantic crossing found her drifting somewhere between Azores and Portugal. The captain of this ship knew the captain of the Mary Celeste and knew that he was a skilled and capable sailor, so he was extremely suspicious. He ordered a crew to board the Mary Celeste, and when they did, they found that the ship had been deserted, but it was in full seaworthy condition, so why had they abandoned it? Especially the captain. The captain of the ship that found this derelict split his crew and sailed the Mary Celeste to Gibraltar for more investigations, but despite this, the captain, his family, and the crew of 7 that were on board the Mary Celeste simply just disappeared, and no one knows what happened or where they could have gone. I think this one is so famous because it has no answers tied to it at all. Like, it really is just one of those mysteries with next to nothing to go off of in terms of clues. In our number 3 spot today we have Alien Visitation. Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker are two men who are from Mississippi, and back in 1973, while fishing, the pair swear that they were abducted by aliens. They say that they heard strange sounds and saw weird lights above their heads. When they looked up, they saw an oval-shaped object that they say was about 40 feet across and 10 feet high. The pair explained that during this abduction they were fully conscious, but they were unable to move. It isn't exactly clear what they entailed, but the men say that the extraterrestrials conducted experiments on them before releasing them. Of course, many people said that the men were lying, but both of them passed a polygraph test. Polygraphs aren't the most accurate tool in the world, but the chance of both of them passing is a lot slimmer than if it was just one person. This has led some people to suggest that perhaps they experienced some sort of combined dream, but even if that is the case, how that could have happened is still very much a mystery. Who knows if they actually experienced something or not, and if they did, what exactly it was. In our number 2 spot today, we have Oumuamua. So a few years ago, scientists all agreed that we had found an object that was flying through our solar system, and it was widely agreed that it was an interstellar comet that had swung out from around another star. But upon closer examination, they realized that something was propelling it and causing it to accelerate, and this is when the debate really started, because they just don't know why. A.V. Loeb, who's a Harvard University astrophysicist, proposed the idea that rather than a comet, this could be an alien probe that was being pushed by a light sail, which is a very wide but extremely thin piece of material that accelerates by being pushed by solar radiation. Other scientists didn't agree with this, and instead said that it's possible that hydrogen ice could have melted off of the object in a way that would mimic a rocket engine or something of that nature. But in August of last year, Avi wrote in a study that hydrogen ice is too easily heated and it would have melted off long before it reached our solar system. I guess we just have to wait it out while the scientists debate and gather more evidence to really know what's going on with this one. In our number 1 spot today, we have the MV Joyita. Around 5 a.m. on October 3rd, 1955, the MV Joyita set sail in the South Pacific. The voyage was meant to take between 41 to 48 hours, but by October 6th, the ship hadn't turned up at its destination. No ship or land-based operator reported receiving any kind of distress call from the crew, so a search and rescue mission was immediately launched. From October 6th to October 12th, the search covered roughly 100,000 square miles, but alas, no one nor the ship were found. 5 weeks later, on November 10th, a captain of another ship spotted the Joyita more than 600 miles from her scheduled route. The ship was capsizing and listing heavily, but it was extremely buoyant and would not sink. Despite this, however, the crew of 25 members were completely missing, and they have never been seen again. 4 tons of cargo were missing from the ship, and the ship itself was in quite poor condition. The pipes were corroded, and while the radio worked, the wiring was faulty, so there was only a range of about 3.2 kilometers. Because of how the ship was built, investigators are puzzled as to why the crew didn't remain on the ship, as it wouldn't have sunk, but this has led them to believe that perhaps something happened to the captain, where he was killed or incapacitated, which would have left someone less experienced in charge. To this day, no one is quite sure what happened to those aboard the ship, how it capsized, or where they ended up. It is all very much a mystery.
If you enjoyed this once-in-a-lifetime moment, then you have to check out this video next. It's about upcoming natural disasters that could potentially end the world. Click the video now to find out more.